Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel. Tonight I'm going to talk about Critical Role Mighty Nine Reunited Part 2 Uk'otoa Unleashed. A long episode. Although I felt oddly forgiving of it, but mostly because they let us know ahead of time what the runtime was going to be. And I was like, I can't stay awake for that. So when I got tired, I went to bed with the knowledge that the rebroadcast would be ending about the time that I would be getting up and getting ready for work. So I watched it when I was getting up, getting ready for work. So I caught the end of it Friday morning. And I didn't actually miss that much. We begin where we left off. The Storm Giant and the Deep Scions assaulting the temple. And a fairly quick battle. Veth, off the bat, hypnotic pattern, takes out most of the Deep Scions. Technically, Jester's Earthquake should have brought them out of it. And her Earthquake, I kind of wish they would have kind of confusedly stopped and just let her destroy the temple, because I think that probably would have freed Uk'otoa. Presumably. My favorite moment of that fight, though, was Caleb and his disintegration. Flying up, was so good. The collapse down was into the second floor was great. I was a little confused in exactly how Matt handled the breaking of the seal. I thought it was great that it's like they're all happy to be, they've wiped out all the bad guys, and then they come dropping down, grab the cloven crystal, and unleash it, only to be killed. Oh, thanks, Malamute. Happy to have you. But the choice was put to the group, who's gonna take my boon? And Kingsley steps forward, and Ford's like, well, maybe I should do it. And there was just a little bit of what drove Ford to collect all of the weapons that he's been collecting, just like Grog did. Yeah, Taliesin saying, I'll do it. Yeah. Just so others will step forward. Yeah. I think that's probably true. he certainly, I don't know, they sort of touch on it later in the episode when he admits to still trying to get over Molly, trying to get out of his shadow with them, um, and trying to make new mistakes, as he put it. But Bo's like, you sort of went directly for the evil choice there. Maybe don't do that. Like, in addition to all the stuff that you're doing, right now, maybe don't go for the evil thing. Jester saying that she messages the Plank King. Was hilarious. So I think, and I came to the realization at the tail end of the episode that the only member of the Mighty Nine that had any kind of arc to have was Kingsley, and that I don't know if it was satisfying per se, but just the fact that I think Taliesin is the only one that said, I'm going to have an arc for this. I want Kingsley we have a beginning for him, which was basically the end of the campaign, and he wanted to be somewhere at the end of this. And Ford's hesitancy, Malamute, I think very much the last few campaigns and one-shots that they've run, they sort of fall into a company of equals. And I think Travis is worried that if he stands up too much as a leader, especially if he's got a high charisma character like Ford, that he'll take over. I don't know if that is a valid fear. It's something I occasionally worry about. But other times I embrace the fact that I tend to, lead a table, for good or ill. That's how it ends up going. It's one of the reasons why I think I fell into being, the forever DM. But yeah, I think he's worried that would happen, and he doesn't want to deal with that. Plus, Ford was doing his best to sort of hide, in a way, just like Caleb was. And, well, I mean, Rose, we've talked about evil people hide that they're evil, I did appreciate, there were a lot of things Matt did in this episode. Like, a lot of my complaints about episode 1 sort of carried over into episode 2, and I don't want to belabor them. But one thing I really appreciated in this episode was the choices Matt made as a DM and some of the design choices that he did. And the first one was the hypnotic patterned guys. Even though Jester's earthquake would have brought them out of it, he basically like, well, they're done, and brought them back at sort of the climax crutch moment to do what needed to happen, which was to free Yukotoa. Um, and I appreciate that he didn't make them roll out the remainder of that combat. He's just like, hey, these guys that you forgot, here they are. Boom, they do the thing. You guys easily wipe them out. Moving on. Perfect. He gets what he wants with his story. The characters get to finish off the bad guys and feel sort of heroic in a Pyrrhic victory kind of sense. And they at the table and we at home watching don't have to sit through another, 30 minutes of combat. Because their turns were taking about 40 minutes per turn. And the one thing that sort of came back to me during the Uk'otoa fight was this would have been so much better if they were still only 14th or 15th level. We probably would have lost one or two. But yeah, I don't know. The unfamiliarity of some of them with their extra few levels and coming back to these characters. And I think Ashley gets nervous, and that nervousness just sort of makes her forget rules. And I feel sorry for her. I understand it, a little bit, but yeah, it was rough. And Matt reminding Taliesin that he's only got one bonus action 80 seconds before Ashley asks if she can take more than one bonus action. Just like, wow. Reminds me of the joke about the drill sergeants never yelling. They simply talk loud enough for everyone to hear so that we can all learn from each other's mistakes. But yeah, yeah, Malamute, and in some ways, the Zealot Barbarian is one of the more complicated barbarians because you gotta, your radiant damage die only procs on the first attack that hits, and she's got, if her wings are out or not, she's got extra damage there. She's got her rage damage. It's a lot. Plus, she's got that magic weapon now. Which I was kind of like, why give them a new weapon? Other than, to make things move along. Yeah, Rose, the 4 Eldritch Blast was hilarious. And a reminder of why cantrips, that you can build a character to collect all the cantrips. Scott has a build for it that he wants to try, I think. Where using various different feats, multi-classing, and choices within how you build, you end up with, I think he had like somewhere between 12 and 18 cantrips in this character build. And cantrips scale with level, so it doesn't matter that you're splitting your levels up so much. If cantrips is sort of the magic forever. It's not super powerful magic, but you'll never run out. Way of playing. But the biggest inspiration, the biggest wow, that's amazing, was Uk'otoa. And him separating Uk'otoa into 3 different monsters, basically. Each one had something going on. The different parts could attack as the legendary actions. They could attack each one, and they were all connected to a common pool of hit points. The eyes charging up was very God of War, and there are moments when you can see that Matt is designing for a particular player, be it a social encounter or a puzzle, or in this case, a combat. And he was very much designing this combat for Travis. I think this is the kind of thing that Travis loves. Matt telegraphs these boss things, these mechanics that he sort of has special very well. I think Laura, in this case, was a little fixated on attacking the eyes. I don't think Matt made it perhaps clear enough that Uk'otoa has so many eyes, you're never going to be able to knock them out completely. And I may be wrong, but I don't remember blinded being a condition that Uk'otoa was immune to. And I thought that was funny. But I think that may have been an oversight for Kingsley for the sake of the Blood Hunter. Because otherwise, the Curse of the Eyeless isn't going to work at all on Uk'otoa. So, yeah. But it gave me a lot of ideas for how to design and work with dustworms on Araku, which are based on dune sandworms. So I was like, oh, that's what I could do. My fix for the design of the encounter with the sandworms was, let's just count the mouth, because that's the part that's important. And largely, it's going to be coming up from underneath you, more than likely, or as it passes by. So a lot of my design into them is around that notion. Not there's this massive thing, and it goes on for a very long time. It's huge. Yeah, the mouth is, like, I think the biggest one, I think they start as a large creature, large opening. So the head is 10 feet across, and it gets up to 80 feet, I think is what I designed. Something like that. And basically, if you're in the way of it as it comes by, you have to make a save, and if you get swallowed, bad things happen. But the notion presented by Matt with the Uk'otoa fight of having several different body segments visible, because in the case of Uk'otoa, these are what's above the water, and there's stuff under the water as well, of course. But our heroes, even though they have water breathing and water walk, he knows they're probably not going to go underwater. So you don't have to deal with any of that. Same principle with the dust worms. I don't have to deal with that, just with what's above that the players are interacting with. So I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board with this bit of inspiration. My favorite moments of that fight, which was only 3.5 rounds, almost 4 rounds of combat, which is why I say it probably would have been better if they were lower level, because it was basically designed for their 17th level mix. And is also, I think, indicative of, again, my conspiracy theory that we lost campaign 2 because of COVID. That this would have been the arc for that, with Uk'otoa being sort of the first big monster of the 4th tier, with the Tarrasque as the final of the 3 evil children of the betrayer gods enshrined on Exandria. So, I mean, maybe I think that because I was so focused on the Tarrasque. But yeah, they had campaign 3 to start that had characters connected to the release of Legend of Vox Machina that was coming out. So campaign 2, the defeat of Lucian and Cognoza was the best place to end it, and close enough to the time, so yeah. But my favorite part of the fight was Bo jumping across in the face of Uk'otoa. Caleb's shape change and lightning breath casting spells while he's in dragon form. I loved his "If Raishan can do it, I can" line. So good. And for me, why Laura earns MVP for this episode. Number 1, her turns, I think, were the shortest of everybody. She knew what she was going to do, for the most part. But she rolled her concentration checks every time she took damage. I don't know if she rolled them correctly. Because technically, Ford's attack, she should have rolled twice because he hit her twice. I think she just rolled once against a high DC. Half of his total damage. But the mass heal. I guess you could call this character growth. I cast mass heal from the duplicates. Everyone was within 60 feet of them. It was very much her version of Sam casting Bigby's hand and floating up towards Vecna. That was sort of the moment. That's how it felt. But yeah. Rose, Caleb shape changing. Is that a function of his class? Or of his character build. The most interesting thing for me for Caleb's shape changing is that's the only time he expressed tenderness or affection, was when he was in his animal forms, and his friends were not. When he was the orca and sort of nosing Jester as the giant eagle a couple times, he would be more playful as the animal. And I think it's because of the change of the mental stats. It's not wild shaped like a druid. He actually becomes that animal. So, and I think for Liam, that means he is unencumbered by all the bullshit that Caleb is. Animals don't really deal, with the psychological trauma that humans can deal with. They are affected by their traumas, but not in the same way. And they tend to be more in the moment. And that's what I think Liam enjoys about that aspect of the Transmuter Wizard. And yeah, the other big thing for Bo, other than just jumping in and being, the badass, and making it vulnerable to lightning for the blue dragon to blast it, was when she got swallowed. Tense moment. She carried it well. And she's like, I have the Cape of the Montabunk. Once per day I can cast Dimension Door. And I've been saving it for this. So she does, and gets out of it. No acid or bludgeoning damage being crushed or digested for her. Out immediately. So good. Oh, and Jesters control weather. I think Matt adjudicated that interestingly. But I don't know if I would say it was rules as written. Just making it a contest of wills. She rolls a natural 20. He didn't bother rolling for Uk'otoa. But her basically removing layer actions, I thought was super, super powerful. And that's why Laura gets MVP for me. Want to touch on the ending and the denouement for everybody. Is Veth pregnant? Because, I mean, Sam is Sam, and he's going to joke. But also, sometimes his jokes inform stuff that he builds into the character for real. And Jester's like, are they going to have milk on the boat? And Sam's vest says, you can milk me? And I think he was trying to make the joke from Meet the Parents. You can milk anything with nipples. But it got me thinking, what if she's pregnant? Because, of course, at her introduction into episode 1, her and Yeza are in coitus. So, that kind of stuff happens when you don't have advanced scientific birth control. Although there's magic and stuff, anything we can do with technology, you can do with magic in a fantasy setting. But just made me think, what if? What if? Kingsley, like I said, I think Taliesin went in with the goal of having an arc for Kingsley. And I think he closed it nicely in his denouement. And finally making good on, I'm going to steal a ship from you, and then I'm going to become King of Darktow. And he did, apparently. And he's a 17th level swashbuckler blood hunter. There's not much on that island that could stop him if he wanted to. It would be an interesting solo one-shot that I'd like to see. Of Taliesin as Kingsley just going in and wrecking shop with the Plank King. They could do it all together, and the other guys could be playing crew members of Kingsley. And it would be hilarious if Ford is playing somebody who keeps threatening to mutiny against him. Just to, turnabout. Shoes on the other foot kind of thing. Ford taking the cloven crystals, giving one to the Cobalt Soul makes sense to me. Dumping one at the Sandals Resort that they own, or help build, or whatever you want to call the island where Vokodo was. Right next to the a fissure to the water plane. Yeah, Rose. The brand. And maybe it's Matt does it to encourage the behavior of Travis, and him pushing the red button is to never punish him too much. But I don't know. Although maybe the Wild Mother is particularly forgiving. She's definitely a deity that understands, I think, necessity and, doing what needs to be done in the moment to survive and win. So I could kind of see her forgiving him. But it gets sticky when you're talking about deities, especially in a pantheon, a polytheistic. One god just can't wave their hand and take away what another god has given to you or done to you. It just doesn't happen. That's why Zeus couldn't just wave his hand and protect Hercules from Hera. So I had a problem with it in that sense. But him saying the other one is for me, and doesn't say where he put it. Did he just put it? And based on what he did, that led to this two-shot. Did he just put it in a coffee can on the mantle? Where is Ford gonna put it that is secure? You know, like, or did he just put it in his bag of holding, and that's just where it goes? That's where it lives. I don't know, because we still never found out who was paying for that eye to be shipped. Oh no, we did. Avantika was. Never mind. Never mind. But where that eye was found. Anyway. Yeah, there was. I don't know. I'm just like, ugh. Yeah, Rose. Him keeping it guarantees it's going. Well, putting it in the Sandals Resort also was like a guaranteed someone's going to get in there and take it. But there is something to be said that the greatest defense of something is secrecy. If nobody knows about it, then it can't be sought after. Where the original cloven crystals were sealed in temples and stuff like that. If he just digs a hole and puts it in the ground and doesn't tell anyone, then it's sort of protected. Yeah, with Evandrin. And I also sort of admire Travis weaving in a way to connect Chetney to Ford. I have to give props to that. And I'm waiting to see if that comes up. Now that they have an airship, it can go wherever they want. And the prospect of confronting the Cerberus Assembly has been brought up. And now we know Caleb also is a teacher at the school. We'll see. I'm looking forward to Matt's portrayal of Caleb. Because I think Keyleth didn't really have much of an accent he's not familiar with. Percy doesn't have much of an accent he's not familiar with. And neither did Pike. Matt doesn't do much German. So I look forward to him trying to do the German. Because even with all the people in the Empire where Zimnian is the language, or the background language, not a lot of folks spoke with that accent. So it will be fun, I think. Bo and Yasha coming to the conclusion that we sort of joked about at one point. Not be the orphan maker, but the orphan taker, and open up an orphanage or become foster parents. It came true. So I was happy to see that. And on my initial watch, I was busy, getting ready when I was watching that part. On my rewatch, I realized Matt sort of went around the table, basically, except he skipped Liam. He did Travis, Marisha, Sam, Laura, Taliesin, and he kind of did Ashley with Bo, but gave her own thing. And then ended it with Caleb, with Liam, because Liam, if you're going to have a heartfelt moment, have Liam be the one to set it up and embrace it. and him finally accepting being a teacher and giving Matt the Essek moment is why Matt saved him for last. As that becomes, like, he knew whatever it was that Liam wanted, that could be how he closes out this revisit of the Mighty Nine, is a visit from Essek. The intimate closing of the door. Yep. Yeah. And Liam's going to give it to you. So that's why, as he's going around the table, he skipped it. And I don't know how much they had talked beforehand about it, but I think Matt has been playing long enough with Liam that he knew he could count on it, as it were, without any prelude discussion. Well, I mean, yeah, Rose, I think, well, I don't know. They tend not to end on the X-rated stuff. They'll kick off with it or hit it in the middle, but they tend not to end with that kind of thing. But yeah. Oh, also, joke that occurred to me as he's ending and talking about how he starts a tradition of getting together once a month for a couple days. You know, they all go somewhere and they spend a couple days in the tower. And I'm like, if you watch everyone's faces around the table and you know enough about the crew before the campaign started, I was like, does Caleb start a RPG campaign in his mansion? Because that's essentially how they played D&D before the stream. After the birthday party, it was like once a month. They would play for 14 hours, start in the afternoon one day, play all night, play into the wee hours of the morning, wake up, mimosas, and continue playing for the day. So in my head, I was like, Liam is trying to work it somehow that Caleb has his rituals that Liam sort of set up with his friends. And I thought that was, again, if you're going to have a touching moment, you're going to get it from Liam. But, well, Rose, we sort of got a CAD ending with Kingsley talking about how he goes to see Caduceus a couple times. So you sort of got it a little bit. And then Taliesin making the joke that maybe next time he'll come back as Caduceus. So, yeah. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. And I don't want to belabor the point and vent to fill the time. So I think I'll call this episode early. Thank you all for joining me. And we should hopefully be back talking about Campaign 3 very soon. And the trial of Chetney. See, this is one of those things, Rose, that I should think about and look up before I start the episode, but I don't think about it until I'm in the episode. But four-sided dive, or yeah, four-sided dive tonight, maybe. So with that, I will bid you adieu, and hope to see you again very soon. Night, guys.